Wooks and Warlocks contains sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and as such is intended for adults. Listener discretion is advised. Content warnings can be found in the description. Hello and welcome to Wooks and Warlocks. In this podcast, we will play out a story of adventure and magic using dice and skills to determine the outcomes of our actions. My name is Trey Miller, and I will play the role of Game Master for this adventure. For some of you, this may be your first time experiencing the world's best game, and while it is possible to figure out what's going on from context clues, I would like to take a second to go over some of the terms and gameplay mechanics that define Wooks and Warlocks. First and foremost, Wooks and Warlocks is a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG. These games are fueled by character-driven improv and refereed by a game master, who is also the chief architect of the game's campaign and setting. Our players have crafted characters, backstories, and personalities that will unfold and develop as the game progresses. In order to put some definition into what players are able to achieve and how interactions play out, tabletop role-playing games typically incorporate dice rolling rules to add an element of chance to the experience. There are countless excellent examples of TTRPG rule sets. For Wooks and Warlocks, we will be using something very similar to 5e D&D. Wooks and Warlocks gameplay centers around the 20-sided dice, otherwise known as a D20. Most player actions will involve a roll of the D20 to determine success or failure. These player actions are called skill checks for world interactions, saving throws for self-defense, and attacks during battle. Each player has specific strengths and weaknesses determined at the outset of the game that will be added to or subtracted from their D20 roll. A roll is considered a success if a player rolls higher than an undisclosed number monitored by the game master. For skill checks, saving throws, this number is known as the difficulty class or DC. For attacks, this number is known as armor class or AC. These numbers are unique to each individual challenge or creature. If circumstances are favorable for a player, they may receive what is known as advantage on their roll. When a player rolls with advantage, it means that they roll twice and take the better of the two results. If a player rolls with disadvantage, then they will roll twice and take the worst of the two results. Sometimes, if an event is particularly absurd, the game master will call for a D100 roll. These are sometimes referred to as probability rolls, and they cannot be affected by player skills or attributes. If a player rolls a 20 on the D20, or between a 1 and a 5 on the D100, that is considered a critical success. In Wooks and Warlocks, that means that whatever they are trying to do happens, and the player gets to determine how it happens within reason, and the game master must accommodate, again, within reason. When building their characters, our players also used the D20 to determine their attributes. These attributes, strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, and charisma, determine what bonuses or penalties, if any, a player will have when rolling for a challenge or attack. In addition, there are 22 skills in which a player can develop proficiency or expertise, further increasing the bonuses applied to these rolls. Each player has chosen a species and a class for their character, which gives them each a unique set of abilities and development path. As the players experience the world around them, they will level up, adding new skills and abilities to their repertoire as adventurers. Quite often, the events of Wooks and Warlocks will happen in real time, where players and game master share freeform space to explore moments, but other times, turn order will need to be determined in order for players and non-player characters to interact sequentially. When this happens, the game master will call for an initiative roll. The results of the initiative roll will determine turn order in any turn-based sections of Wooks and Warlocks. Usually initiative is reserved for combat interactions, but there will be times when the game master calls for initiative for skill challenges or important conversations. While playing in initiative order, gameplay proceeds in turns and rounds. A player may use an action, bonus action, and free action per turn, and a reaction per round. Typically, enemies follow these same restrictions, but some exceptions do apply. These are the core essential rules of this 5e-like RPG that we are calling Wooks and Warlocks. The last, and perhaps most important rule, is the rule of cool. Wooks and Warlocks is at its core a comedy improv podcast, and with that thought in mind, we will be sliding these rules to the side for the sake of clever storytelling as often as we can. If this sounds like your thing, hop on the bus. You don't even have to buy a ticket to take the ride. We'll see you next time on the first installment of Wooks and Warlocks.